of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at Gambling.com. And for the first time in the National Hunt season, of course, this year, also brought to you with Cash Win Sportsbook. 30% cash back on all sports up to €300 for Irish players. Check out all the details are on the screen, of course. Delighted to have them on board with the Racehour. Diarmuid Nolan is here. Demo, how are you?
All good, Dino, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Had a good Christmas. Back into the mix now, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it kind of all, you're looking forward to it so long and then it's over and then you're back into work again and you're more tired than you were. I used to always challenge you guys with kids and say, it's not as bad as you think it is. And then, yeah, I'm knackered. so yeah. Roll on, Cheltenham.
Now you know. That's what the countdown is all about. When do I get a few days off and racing is the only focus? You think Christmas was that time for you, Demo, but not anymore. Good luck. Welcome to the club. Another man in that club, of course, is Donn McClean. It's great to have Donn back on the Racehour. Donn, how are you?
I'm saying, yeah. No, I'm a signed up member to the club. I've been for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Christmas was great. It always is, it's great fun here at home with the family, but then the racing was really good this year. Like it was just deep national racing for the way it fell this year. You had 4 days and then into the weekend. So yeah, no, it was really good.
Yeah, we also got that little preamble as well. I think we got a meeting on the 23rd, bit of Crambo putting itself into the stayers picture and stuff like that with the long walk. It did kind of feel like racing was always around us. So we got a couple of days up, but not too many. So yeah, I thought really enjoyed it. I have to say, apart from the bout of the virus that kicked in after New Year, but then all the fun stuff was done. So I was just able to get a few days off work. So I'm not complaining about that. Back into the breach, though, back into the Racehour, of course. And this is going to be the first of our kind of Racehour Cheltenham Festival pre-specials, I call them, as we kick into the countdown, as Diarmuid Nolan called it just before. Novice Chasers on the agenda today with myself, Diarmuid, and Donn. Easy way to go through them, of course, is to tackle the Arkle, the Turners, the Brown Advisory, go up in distance and end on the 3 mile 6 of the National Hunt Chase. So that is the way we're going to go about it. We'll kick off straight into the Arkle picture. We did get some clues, of course, around that over the Christmas period. We have an odds-on favourite, Diarmuid Nolan, a horse that I wouldn't say you've always been the biggest fan of, but a big fan nonetheless. And now it's like, what is going to take on Marine Nationale? We've seen him. Barry Connell's as confident as he normally is around his charges. He thinks he's got the right one. They're obviously skipping a Constitution Hill style hurdle tear up, so they don't need to go there. You can understand that. Is the Arkle one-horse race already?
Yeah, like I loved them last year for the Supreme. Really loved them. I just love how effortless how effortless he is, and that it just all kind of comes to him. But it was a real making of a man performance over fences. I love the way Mikey O'Sullivan didn't, like, there was no holding back in him. Mikey O'Sullivan went and challenged him at every fence, and he just spring heeled at every one of them. I thought it was I thought it was an absolutely ecstatic performance. Like it was just mesmeric. Like he hit every fence beautifully. He jumped every fence beautifully. And I just thought it was. I mean, like, it's a division that still has an awful lot to figure itself out. I mean, Facile Vega was disappointing again. Found a 50 as much as he won that race. I'm not sure about his speed wise. Mr. Policeman's interesting, but after that, then you're kind of, you're getting down to the Blood Destinies and the Ilate Tomps, who could obviously improve for better ground. But it's a division where he was shortening up after Facile Vega lost, and he hadn't even jumped the fence yet, and that kind of said an awful lot about it. But Dean, he can't have done any more than he did. The Irish Arkle is going to suit him as well, because the ground at that time of the year tends to be at Leopardstown quite good, which is why he only came out around Christmas time, which was ironic enough because the ground around Christmas really wasn't that good. But still, he was brilliant. His jockey as well, Mikey O'Sullivan, is only getting better. They're a real duo who are improving in front of our eyes, both of them. And yeah, I struggle to see him beaten. But it's just one of those things where you just kind of accept it for now. Hopefully Mr. Policeman or somebody else can kind of come out and improve. But Marine Nationale, Dean, it was as close to a 10 out of 10 for a debut performance over fences as you're going to see, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, it's put in at shades of odds on now with most of the layers, of course, and then you're struggling for something to go and take him on. I do see one brave bookmaker putting Impere Pass in there after maybe the hurdles campaign is going to be short and they'll go straight over fences. But then you got Basil Vega, of course, who's blotted the book, found the 50, missed the policeman. Gaelic Warriors got other targets, we think, and then probably a bunch of stayers. Don, is this going to turn into a Simmonsing type year where you might get 4 or 5 line up and we just watch the old bunny at the front do its thing?
Yeah, like I think Marine Nacional is he's a special horse already. Like couldn't agree or disagree with anything Diarmuid said there. He was brilliant. His jumping was brilliant. When he was long, he was fast. When he was short, he was able to go in and pop and pop quite quickly. Even down to the last, like he just seemed to meet every fence in his stride, and that's not by accident. That's him measuring his fences up from a few strides out and getting his stride right, so he can just pop them. Like Barry Connell said beforehand, that his schooling over fences was brilliant. He said he's probably going to be a better chaser than hurdler, and there was nothing from his performance in that beginner's chase to suggest otherwise. Like I think he was 3 seconds faster than Dinah Blue was in the Grade 1 race. And they didn't, the certain gentleman, they said a good pace in that, and she stayed on well. So there was nothing false about the way that race was run. And they're Grade 1 horses, and he's winning a beginner's chase over the same course and distance in a 3-second faster time. And it was fairly effortless. I mean, you see him going up to the winning line, you would have thought he could have gone faster if Michael O'Sullivan had kicked him on. And like Michael O'Sullivan, he's brilliant on him. I think he's such a good rider. Like he's so good. He just seems to be always in the right place, and he gets horses jumping and gets them traveling, and doesn't panic. He's got a mind as well. So look, he's such an exciting horse, Marine Nacional. Michael Sullivan's already a proven jockey. He's not an exciting progressive jockey anymore. He's a top class jockey, and yeah, like all things being equal, you just love seeing these good horses, hoping everything goes well with them and seeing them progress. Like he was a 7-4 shot for the Arkle before he ran in the beginner's chase.
Yeah,
I didn't want it like that. Like it's just you just wish him well. You just hope that he goes on and keeps on going, because he could be a superstar.
And wouldn't it be great as well, lads, to have the 2 mile senior division with an actual clash happening? We've been promised a few of them over the years, and remember the year was Defi Desai, etc., and then it was only him there in the morning then, because the other ones fell away, checking Pursois and everything else. It would be great if the 2 mile division had Marine National against an El Fabiolo next season, because it is.
I know you hate John, but you can't knock him out of that list.
No, but just until El Fabiolo is beaten, he's the one to beat. So but it would just be great, because we just haven't had it for quite a while now. And that 2 mile division, it is the best division when it gets going. It's the most exciting. It's they have to meet every fence so well. He just smacks as something very, very special. He really does.
Yeah, the risks involved in them hurting around over 2 miles, stiff tracks with it all to play for, and tactical now coming into it is what you want. We've had so many great clashes over the years. I echo you, Dan. I agree with you. I was going to say though, I mean, if you remember what Barry Connell did with Marine National last season, of course, I think they ran in the Fairy House meet, and then he went, no, we're going straight to Cheltenham, and it kind of yo-yoed the price a little bit along the way as they went on the way to Cheltenham, because it was like, well, he's going to need another run. I mean, how can you just come out and do that? They're going to have another run now before Cheltenham, surely. Where will they go? How many will they have? What do you reckon, Dan?
Well, they'll go to the DRF, I'd imagine. Yeah. And if he wins at the DRF, they'll go straight there, I'd say. Yeah, like he would have had more runs now, but the ground, they just didn't want him running in it. Last season as well, like the reason why I stuck with him, and I believe Donn did as well with him, is that it wasn't an accident that he had his last run at Christmas. It wasn't him being weird. He'd been on the go all summer from bumpers through to the Grade 1. He's had a good break now, which he hadn't had really going into before that run at Fairy House last season. So he's had his break. I don't think more racing closer to the festivals is going to be any sort of a problem to him. He's just very good. I actually think the Arkle at the DRF with that ground and everything else, which it tends to be, obviously I'm not saying it will definitely, but it has tended to be over the years nearly too quick there. That will only suit him. So I think the DRF onto Cheltenham, onto Punchestown or Aintree or whatever else, he can keep going now, which is great.
Yeah, one more run be enough, Don?
Absolutely. I think like Irish Arkle and then onto the Arkle. One more run before Cheltenham. Yeah. He had a kind of a strange season last season. Like he won his bumper at Punchestown in May. It wasn't at the festival. And then he kind of kept going through the summer. Like he won at Killarney, he won his maiden hurdle at Punchestown in October. So he didn't really have a proper break. Then he went on and won the Royal Bond. And as Diarmuid said, when he won the Royal Bond, Barry Connell said, we're going straight to Cheltenham, which for a fledgling trainer, I mean, he's not a fledgling owner. He's not wet behind the ears at this game. But for a trainer who's just establishing himself, it was a brave call. And obviously it came to fruition. And, Marie Nacional did all that he hoped he would do at Cheltenham. Whereas this season, and that's the reason he didn't go to Punchestown, I think Barry just left him off after Cheltenham, said we'd give him a good long summer now and bring him back and start his chasing career. And I think he was supposed to go he was entered in the Navan race. I think it was the race in which Factifile was beaten by American Mike. Might have been that race. Anyway, it was heavy ground, so he didn't run in the race. He went on, and Barry said then he was going to go to Leopardstown. So it's not like these breaks are not down to anything sinister or any setbacks. They're all planned, and he seems to be. He wore a tongue strap the last day. He seems to be very straightforward horse. Nothing, no glitches along the way. Touch wood, and yeah, please God, it'll remain like that.
Is there something lurking? And Impere Pass coming back from, not coming back, stepping up over fences rather than maintaining a hurdling campaign this season, or something a little bit darker out there in the offing, Don, that could challenge the Green National. We're all waxing lyrical about its chances, and with fingers crossed as well that it goes the right way because the career in front of him looks so special. But is there something?
It's hard to see. The one horse, first of all, in the pocket, it's pity he's out for the season because he would have been an Arkle player. Blood Destiny is the horse that I think could drop back and trip. I know he won his beginner's chase over 2.5 miles, but he's got pace. Like he was one of the top juveniles last season. He was only a 3-1 shot for the Triumph Hurdle, and Paul Townend had difficulty choosing between him and Lossiemouth. And he was very good in winning his chasing on his chasing debut, beating Heartwood. And Heartwood's a good horse. He's a second season novice, and the two other horses in the race, Spanish Harlem and Landrake, they were 20 lengths behind, and they're 130 odd rated hurdlers. So it was a really good performance, albeit over 2.5 miles. But Willie Mullins has such strength and depth in the 2 mile division, in the novice chase division, and every single one of them seems to be a 2.5 miler.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising to see Blood Destiny drop and trip. And it is interesting that he's entered in the 2 mile novice chasing the reschedule. He wasn't in the original race on Sunday. He wasn't declared on Sunday, but he's in it now for the Friday race. So he's in with Mr. Policeman, his stable companion. So it'll be interesting to see if he does take his chance or which of them take their chance. Mr. Policeman is the other one. He's going to have to come from his chasing vow, but I'm sure he will, like late November for Willie Mullins. They're going to progress from that point in the season. So he's one who could step forward, but I'd be more interested in Blood Destiny to see where he goes and what route he takes.
Yep. Okay. We might see that obviously in the rearranged Laws and Nace meeting, of course. Dermo, anything else outside of those?
Not particularly. No. There's kind of there's 28 races at the Cheltenham Festival, so when there's one kind of sorted for you, you're kind of happy enough.
And it's early on. Yeah, and it's early on. Fair enough. Okay, I mean, look, we're waiting to see if there are incredible rivals out there, and that's kind of where I was alluding this to. But maybe they can be credible and still not be good enough. That's what we're looking at with Green National sitting at the top of that Arkle market. I likened it before to a kind of Simmonsig year. I think it might be exactly that, but it's all to look forward to in the future with this horse. Barry Connell will give it one more run before Cheltenham, be the Arkle at the DRF. That'll be its seventh, I think, win on the bounce, going for the 8th in an Arkle clash. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Okay, why don't we move up slightly in distance and go to this could be a similar discussion when we start looking at the turners, because not quite odds on yet, but probably only needs to do one more thing and maybe go the right way around and win a chase again is Gaelic Warrior. This horse, he splits opinion everywhere. It's Marmite. Some people got their fingers burnt in obviously the very first Cheltenham target they went for without a run, and then since then, engines intact. Jumping is perhaps questionable, but it's going to be a short price favourite for this race.
Yeah, I can't see the Marmite angle now with him. I think he's very good, and I was one of his biggest detractors last season. I couldn't see that. I just never saw it with him. But that first chase start, you went, "Ooh, that was very good." And then I had the same thought as what Patrick Mullins and even Danny Mullins said afterwards, that you kind of went, right, yeah, he won the first race, but he kind of, the rest of the field were maybe happy to let him go. But just again, he was just brilliant. I also thought he jumped a lot straighter down the back than he had done ever before. He still jumps right, obviously, but just down the back, the tree down the back at Limerick, he looked a lot straighter there than he had done. But the first few, again, he was still badly right. Like, he's on a right-handed track, he's still jumping right. I really like
Patrick
him.
will just tell everyone to get out of the way. So
Yeah, yeah. It'll be fine. Yeah, once every other jockey listens to him. But
yeah.
It's like that's all well and good. But we're talking about a horse who's 11 to 8, who's actually 8 to 11 in a place as well. For this race, and he jumps right. I'm not saying that I'm going to be taking him on per se, but I'm definitely going to be looking for an each way angle against him. It's not. It's just going down through the years, Dean. Who's the last horse that you can remember who jumped that right going around Cheltenham and won? You know what I mean? As in, it's a very hard thing to master. Remember, York Hill once got beaten in the Powers Gold Cup at Fairyhouse, jumping very badly left. He was by far the best horse in that race on the day, but he gave away such lengths. Like, if they can straighten up Gaelic Warrior any bit, he's probably the best horse there in the race. But we're not talking about bad horses behind him. Corbett's Cross, who Donn McClean deserves an awful positive mention for the fact that Don did mention that he wasn't quite sure whether this horse would stay the 3 miles. Obviously, Emmett Mullins' form would maybe suggest that Corbett's Cross can't be completely ruled out for that. But when I watched back the Albert Bartlett after Don had said it, Corbett's Cross maybe didn't quite. He might have been crying enough coming towards that last hurdle, and that's why he ducked out maybe. But he didn't look a stayer to me. But we can't forget how brilliant he was before that. So Corbett's Cross at 12 to 1, 14 to 1's a huge price. I hope Fact of File runs here just to know you, Dean, but I don't think he will. And there's an awful lot of very good horses in this field. So just to say, I think the Marmite title has to go for him, but I think Gaelic Warriors 2024 should be built around a clash against Ile Francais and the King George, because I just think he'd be absolutely amazing around Kempton. But as much as him going to Cheltenham, it's not that I'm taking him on, because he doesn't have to correct all that much to still win this race. But I'm very happy to go each way against him, because he just does. Like, when you watch back the first race, the first run over fences at Punchestown, he's jumping really right at Punchestown. He's doing it again at Limerick. He straightens up down the back, which would give you some kind of hope with him. But yeah, Dean, I'm definitely going to be trying to find an each way angle to at least place behind him, and maybe take advantage if he starts going really, really right.
Well, look, there's a flaw there. The Marmite thing that came from me was that you'll, and this is, maybe a social media poll that I didn't take, but I can read what everyone says in there. It's like, I cannot back that at Cheltenham. That can't win at Cheltenham. Look what it does, blah, blah. That's the Marmite bit.
Fair. Yeah.
Others who are saying that wins whatever it goes for. Look at the engine, look at the horse, look at the colours, look at the association, look at the connections. There's lots to like about Gaelic Warrior, Don. You can tell me what you think.
There's loads to like about him, Dean. No question. He's all of that's true. He's got an engine. He's got class. But it's down to how much he has in hand of all his rivals versus how much he's going to give away by going right. Like, he's run at Cheltenham twice. He's been beaten twice. Okay, he was beaten by Empire Pass in the Ballymore, so that was a really good run. But he was beaten in a Fred Winter off a mark of 129. And he went violently. He was only beaten a short head by Brazil, who's enhanced that form since. But Brazil didn't have, he actually hampered Brazil on the way around. So I'm with Diarmuid on this. Like, I definitely wouldn't be backing him at even money or even a shade of odds against, for all that he's got the engine, he's got the class, he's got the power. But Cheltenham, just discussing this earlier on, somebody else, it's not just like Leopardstown, Haydock, Newbury. There's straight, and then around an oval, around a bend, and then straight again. Cheltenham, it's turning all the while. And if you're jumping right, and I take Jeremy's point about Limerick, he wasn't that noticeably back straight, but I don't know, maybe it's not that you don't notice it on the right hand track. When you're going left, it just enhances it. Because if you're turning left and you're jumping straight, you're giving away ground. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're jumping right,
you need to be manual almost. Yeah.
It's very difficult at Cheltenham. You go down the back straight and you don't really see it from the television screen. You're all the while turning. Like, you jump, you turn, you jump, you turn, more over, and there are more jumps over fences than over hurdles. So, like, you have to admire him as a horse, and the time that he clocked at Limerick and the horses that he beat and the way that he did it, really, really impressive. And Dermot's right about the King George. Like, he loves to see him going for the King George, 3 miles Kempton. It'd be brilliant to see him saying that. But at Cheltenham, at the price, and I think this could be a deep enough race. I think it could attract quite a few others. So yeah, I'd be against him now at the price.
Fair. Okay.
The old course will help him, though, won't it? The old course will help him more than the new course did at Cheltenham, at least. Like just to add a bit of positive back from him. He still has, like, I'm still taking him on, but the old course will be a bit kinder to him, Don, I'd imagine, than what the new course was.
I think it's the new course, isn't it? But you're right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a more galloping track. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. That'll help him better on the third day than the second day, or the first day in the Arkle, or the second day in the Brand Advisory. So that'll be a positive for him. All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about these rivals. Like, this is going to be way deeper than an Arkle. What is like to turn up? Would Corbett's Cross be the obvious one, Don, to be thinking about at this point?
Yeah, I'd like to see him in this team. So Jim was saying earlier on about the Albert Bartlett last year, and like, look, we know Stay Away Faye is a really strong stayer, so I'm not certain that he would have beaten him. And the beginner's chase that he won when he beat Nick Rocket and Monty Starr and 3 Card Bragg, that was 2 miles 5.5, and the last day over 3 miles. He kept on without necessarily suggesting that he needed every yard of the trip against Grange West. So I think he's a pacier horse than an absolute stayer. He's probably going to have to improve his fluency over his fences if he's going to drop down and trip to an extended 2.5 miles. It's just his jumping. It's not slick. It's more the jumping of a stayer than of a shorter distance horse. But if he could just be a wee bit slicker over his fences, then he could take a good step forward. And I think a fast run 2.5 mile type race, that should suit him well. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the field that you'd be interested in now? I mean, there's a lot to pick from.
450 is interesting. Like, I think he can go back out and trip. He finished second in the Drinmore, and he stayed on really, really well over 2 miles on a furlong the last day. And the Leopardstown trip, it's 2 miles on a furlong, so it's not actually the minimum trip. So it does take a lot of getting for a 2 mile type of horse. So you could see him stepping back out and trip. Fact to find, I think, yeah, I agree with Darren. I think he might could be stepping up even further. He could be going to the Brand Advisory. Facile Vega, it looks like he might step out and trip. Willie said that he could
Might
go
have
2.5
to now.
miles.
Yeah, I think so.
So and then a lot of them are Willie Mullins horses, so they're kind of interdependent, aren't they?
But 100%, they certainly are. I think Found 50 is the interesting one. I'm not sure he got enough credit for the Drinmore run. Being beaten by I Am Maximus and that turning that race into a bit of a farce for a novice event. But at the same time, I thought it was a big run. Fairy House, that trip on that ground. Yeah, I thought that was a big performance. I wouldn't be that disappointed with him. I think he was obviously short enough for the race on the day, and perhaps a bit of a surprise they didn't go and back up what they thought about him. But to go and beat my mate Mozzie at Leopardstown, I'd definitely put him into the mix. Dermo, what would you put into the mix then if you're going to be taking on Gaelic Warrior? It sounds like I think most people, the Shrewdies, as we like to put ourselves in that bracket, will turn up at Cheltenham going, I'm not backing Gaelic Warrior, but if it wins, I was in the multi.